messages you've been sending to the Dark Aether, the orbs. Who exactly do you expect to answer your call? Because I doubt anyone back home can be bothered to join our struggle here.
With respect, Invictor, we were not the only ones who took an interest in this world.
Perhaps. But when the others realized they could not come here in the flesh, that there was nothing material to be gained, they took interest in other things.
Well, now there is something here they can have. Vengeance. Cortifex the Deathless made a lot of enemies.
Yes, Warlock. And they were once united against Cortifex. But by now they are surely back to battling each other.
This will not happen all at once, Destroyer. First, they must make contact. Then, we must help them fashion artifacts to bind them to this plane. Perhaps the Nether Wars rage once more in the Dark Aether, but the head of Cortifex is too great a prize to resist. Someone will answer my calls. I know it.
General Nauticus, once known as the Conqueror, now forced to rub shoulders with a lowly grunt like me.
Invictor, I have nothing against grunts. I was always well liked by my soldiers.
Oh, General, you most certainly were not respected, yes, but liked.
Fair point. You, they liked. The Destroyer, always in the thick of the fight. Me, they followed. By the thousands, yet fighting as one. Because with me in command, they knew they would win. The Norsemen over here sensed this about me. They looked up to me. Revered me, in fact. Father of the Frost Giants. That is what they called me. Mighty warriors, the Norse. You would have liked them.
Perhaps. The way one is fond of a warhound. But yes, I have enjoyed the company of human soldiers in the past. The Greeks in particular. I helped them lay siege to a city called Troy, bonded with one of their warriors named Achilles. He used to call me Ares. The lad was a decent enough warrior to begin with. But after I was through with him, he was a legend.
Do you see an Achilles in our current cohort? Because I am not so sure.
They will do, Nauticus.
They will have to.
Syraxis likes to claim she discovered your world. But there were many of us who took an interest. She saw you merely as new toys. Cortifex, I have never fully fathomed, but I assume he saw new lands to plunder. He ordered Nauticus to study you for conquest. Nauticus ordered me to learn your ways of war. And Bellica, curiosity is her lifeblood. We each had our favorite mortals to visit. For me, the Greeks. For Cortifex, the Egyptians. We were seen as patrons spirits, angels, demons, gods. Syraxis did have the idea to make artifacts that could bond us to mortals, but it took Bellacar's cunning to actually make it work. Even then, we each had to craft our own. We tried to make them fit the cultures we wanted to visit. None of us got it quite right. I was probably closest with my sword, but swords I understand. Court effects? Court effects just didn't care. 2 pyramids on a stick. How long did that take him? We cast our artifacts through the veil. Our friends picked them up. And suddenly we were truly with them. We had such adventures in those days. But those are tales for another time. If only we had realized sooner that in creating the artifacts, we had made a rod for our own backs.
I have consorted with many humans over the centuries, but few left a lasting impression. It is difficult to remember their faces, much less their names. But one in particular stands out. Lucien Poiret, an architect, Freemason, he called himself. Quite clever for someone so short-lived. He was a senior member of the Société Occulte, a group in contact with my kind since your Middle Ages. They understood us well enough to write their own spell book, based on dark Aether rune magic. You know it as the Tome of Rituals. They always changed their meeting sites to maintain secrecy, until Lucien designed what would become their mystic fortress. He erected the Hotel Royal above the catacombs that run beneath Paris. Underground tunnels lined with bodies, laid out in a rune magic pattern to create a dimensional nexus. It is no mistake that Cortifex sealed off the hotel's rooftop to further Von List's plans. If we cannot stop his undead army from rising in earnest, the Hotel Royal will become a rallying point, a place of power to ensure our enemy prevails.
I don't know how many of your centuries ago it happened, but I remember when we first became aware of your world. Before that, we thought the dark Aether was, well, everything. Then one day, strange items began to appear in my realm. I speak of things like that pack-a-punch device, and the box that spits out guns. They caused quite an uproar among my kind. How do they work? Where do they come from? And what kind of trouble could I stir up over there? I spent several of your lifetimes just catching glimpses through the dimensional veil. I watched you silly things discover agriculture and start to trade routes, all the basics. So the mechanisms that landed in the dark ether must have come from your future. Don't ask me how. Oh, I was too busy playing with your ancestors to care. At first, I got them to see me in campfires, then in pools of water. Later, it was mirrors and then crystal balls. The more civilized you became, the more refined the lens through which we spoke. But there was no crossing over, no visiting in the flesh, so I looked for a way to deepen my contact and my control. I needed an anchor in your reality. A trans-dimensional link so we could really connect. And that's when it hit me. That's when I had the idea for what you now call the artifacts. Kitsune. Do you know that word? I picked it up a few centuries back when I spent time in Japan. It means fox, but it also referred to a sort of trickster spirit. They were said to bond with humans, inhabit them, possess them. This was called Kitsunetsuki. Such a lovely language. It meant the fox was within you, controlling you, affecting your mind. So guess what more than a few humans used to call me? Some even offered themselves for my Kitsunetsuki. I salute the Japanese for their fearlessness, because that's what you have to be to bond with me. Fearless. Soldiers, servants, holy men, lords and ladies. I hooked up with anyone who was willing to take me for a ride. And what a time we had. The party lasted from the Heian period well into the Edo period, but it all came to an unpleasant end when, well, the less said about that, the better.